Final Fantasy VIII is a game that history has not been kind to. Being the follow-up to one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time was always going to be an impossible task. A couple of risky design choices really didn't help matters. It's been a while since we've had the chance to play the game on a modern console, and what a better way to do so with it finally getting the remastered treatment. I'm Jordan from SwitchWatch, and this is my review of Final Fantasy VIII Remastered. The story for Final Fantasy VIII is ambitious, I'll give it that. Set in a world that has a mix of both modern life and futuristic features, this fantastical world has some great concepts going for it. The game stars Squall, a moody teenager and student of Balam Garden, a military academy. Without going into spoilers, the story starts strongly with a school days feel, with an interesting twist as Squall and his comrades prepare to take the final exam to become the elite seed or soldier thingy. But the game quickly descends into thread after thread that it becomes one of the most intertwined narratives within the series, for better or worse. At points you'll even take control of a different party from a different time period that's linked to the modern day, and by the time you get to the climax of the game, you'll be looking back and wondered just how you got there. I do like the characters and their dialogues. They're very likeable, if not exactly the most iconic the series has to offer. Either way, it's these 6 characters that will make you want to get through the game, even if the story doesn't quite go the way you would have liked, especially close to the end. There's something rather wholesome about this entry, a weird feeling, but compared to the more revered entries that came before and after, the school days feel makes it a little more real and grounded, he says as flying universities, magic and summons exist. Gameplay-wise, while Final Fantasy VIII retains many of the tropes the series is known for, this JRPG really did try to do something different in order to advance the genre and set it apart from its predecessors. As far as I can tell, nothing has really been tweaked here for the remaster, which I'm sure half of you right now are cheering at, while the other half of you are going to bemoan the lack of. Final Fantasy VIII quickly became a divisive game after the original accolades had calmed down, and for good reason too. From the weird leveling system of yourself, which decides the level of most of the monsters you'll face in random battles, to the drawing magic system, as well as them being integral to your stats. Oh my god, it's even weirder than I remember playing it for the first time. It's something that I applaud with all my being, and I absolutely love what they tried to do. The problem is that it gets messy, very messy. Intricacies such as improving stats or leveling up, potentially shooting yourself in the foot in the process, make it kind of a Russian roulette of a game that is wholly unbalanced. I both love it and find it bewildering. You guys know me, I'm not one for detail, which makes me terrible at reviews, so instead of learning about what works and how to pace myself and progress within the game, Final Fantasy VIII is one that every time I play, I do whatever I want and hope for the best. So yeah, as far as I can tell, nothing much has changed in the gameplay department, which is quite sad to see. But there are some gameplay mods that can implement similar things to what we saw in the ports of Final Fantasy VII and IX on the Switch and elsewhere. To put it bluntly, they are cheats. You have your classic no encounters toggle, which does exactly what it says on the tin. If you put this on, you will not bump into any random encounters. This can be a massive pain reliever for many people's main gripe with the genre, and it also presents an interesting twist to this game, especially due to how the leveling scaling of the monsters work. Then you have the battle assist, which when toggled will boost you to max health and allow you to pull off your limit break at any time, plus you don't have to wait to attack. Your ATB gauge will always be full. I'll be honest, it's not something I personally would use, since it takes away a lot of the point of the game where all the thought and strategy is needed. But if it helps you out in a pinch, stopping you losing a lot of progress, then it's very useful and caring to the player's time. Finally, you have the speed boost, which allows you to speed up time up to 3 times the normal speed. Pretty self-explanatory, makes grinding a cinch. Stack these 3 aids together and you can literally blast through the game without any thought or input, although you may have to be careful on bosses who might one-hit you if you're too far without much preparation. Obviously you can choose to use these or not, but I think they're welcome choices when gamers have so little time these days, and if they just want to enjoy the story and characters, I can appreciate that. That's all for the Nintendo Switch in terms of game mods, but it's worth noting that the Steam PC version has a lot of extra stuff, like having all the cards, max money, all abilities, all items. It's a cheater's paradise, and I can't figure out why it isn't available on consoles. I remember the Final Fantasy IX port having a couple of similar ones. Why not for 8? Which leads me onto the staggering inconsistency with these Final Fantasy releases. Literally all of them on the Switch so far, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 Part 2 and 12, have all seen completely different treatment in terms of enhancements or quality of life stuff. Either what they have, what they don't have, and even the method or restrictions of use. It's just weird and there's no uniformity to them. It's like they've all been handled by completely different people, which they very may well have been. I know I'm not going into specifics of the gameplay too much, that's been a common criticism of my Final Fantasy reviews thus far, but I do need to mention Triple Triad, which, if any, is the single reason to own Final Fantasy VIII. It's by far the best, most addictive minigame ever produced, perhaps in any game ever. Collecting cards and taking part in the simple but highly satisfying card duels, it's just glorious. I mean, honestly, I do like Final Fantasy VIII, but this was my main reason to play it again, no joke. I love Triple Triad. While the game itself may be very divisive in terms of loving or hating, I'm pretty sure the music for Final Fantasy VIII is universally loved. It's not my favourite of the series, but my word did Nobuo Uematsu get this soundtrack in my head for my entire life. Balam Garden, Blue Fields, Waltz for the Moon, Man with the Machine Gun, the soundtrack to 8 is almost perfect. It might be the best in the series. Oh, and how can I forget Shuffle or Boogie, literally the best minigame music ever created. Get ready to boing and clap your hands. Congratulations, you now have that music in your head for the next 15 years. Obviously, the biggest enhancement for this remaster is the visual presentation. It looks, well, a lot better than it originally did, I suppose. Models have been vastly updated in a similar essence to 7 and 9, but then some. These are not the original models that were slimmed down for final release, these are brand new as far as I'm aware. They're crisp and clear and completely rob the internet of the most handsome guy in the room meme. I mean, I like it, mostly. The main character Squall doesn't look anything like I thought him to look, to be honest. He looks pretty naff here and looks more like he belongs in a Kingdom Hearts game rather than the cool guy I always thought him to be. I mean, his model now looks nothing like what he does in the cutscenes. It's a poor choice of direction there, but aside from that, the rest of the models look great. It does go slightly downhill from there too, with not much happening to the CGI cutscenes, and forgive me if I'm being blinded by nostalgia, but I think the pre-rendered backgrounds look even more blurry than before. No surprise considering they were never put on high definition TVs, but it's still a disappointment, especially in this release being labelled as a remaster. I was forgiving of the other Final Fantasy PS1 games on the Switch, but they never claimed to be anything more than they were. Since I did those reviews, I've been made aware of technology that using algorithms can very accurately recreate and sharpen low resolution images like these, so it's a shame not to see that kind of stuff being used here. I mean, I'm not an expert, so I don't know how realistic it could be, but it's a remaster, right? Give us something slightly better looking than the original. So this remaster is priced at $19.99 on the US eShop, £15.99 in the UK, and in that regard, obviously it's worth that price, even if I'm being rather negative at it being called a remaster. I mean, it has Triple Triad for God's sake. I think a lot of people were led to believing that this was going to be a full price release, so that may be a pleasant surprise to see it's being put around the same price as the other PS1 Final Fantasy games. It's still pretty much the same game that it always was, but now with a much more convenient way of playing it on current systems, plus on the go on the Nintendo Switch. That alone is worth it. But I personally really wish it was a full price remaster because of all the games in the series that could have benefited, it was this one. It is also worth noting that at the time of publishing, Square Enix has insisted there are no plans to make this a physical release, despite initial hope thanks to retailers like PlayAsia offering pre-orders, rather jumping the gun sadly. So it looks like for now, there will be no physical release, so you'll be stuck with an almost 3GB download. Before we get into my final thoughts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to join the SwitchWatch community if you haven't already. It's well worth it for our reviews, gameplays and features that we do if you're a Nintendo Switch owner. We cover as much as possible. If you're a regular, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up and leave a comment about what you think of Final Fantasy VIII. Where does it rank for you among other FF games? Will you pick up this remaster? Let us know. Overall, I know I'm being slightly negative about the connotation of this being a remaster, but that's Square's fault. But still, for an affordable price, you can look forward to sampling one of the black sheeps of the series, and one that has a few flaws but can quickly be regarded as charms. I like it, it's weird and awkward, but it's very wholesome and does try some ambitious stuff. Plus it's got Triple Triad, which makes it an instant 10 out of 10. Joking aside, visually it's hit and miss, but the art style is great, and the music is possibly the best in the series. It won't be for everyone, but I really think it's worth a shot. For me, it's an 8.5 out of 10. Don't forget to check out our playlist of all Final Fantasy coverage that we've done, pretty much all of them. So if you're looking for something a bit more polished and less divisive, check out those reviews. We'll see you guys over there. Take care.